Seeing is believing.
How many examples of black love are on a media platform of any kind?
Can you name one?
How long did you have to think about it before it
Popped in your brain.
How many examples of black leadership are on a media platform?
form of any kind?
Can you name one? Now can you name another? How hard did you have to think about one before it popped into your brain?
This is what brings us
To the reason why we are here. How many examples of black wisdom are on a media platform of any kind?
Can you name one? Now, can you name another?
Now, can you name one where the wisdom is focused on something other than pop culture?
Or hip hop? Or battle rap?
Seeing is believing.
Blindness
Is the sickness?
Wisdom is the medicine.
We are restorers of faith.
Solutions over problems.
What needs to happen?
What needs to happen?
What needs to happen?
A lot of cats ask me if this story is true. It is.
Once upon a time in the days of low fades, I was on the block with Claude and my man Hayes, 199th Street between Jamaica Ave and the Hill. And I'm asking my brothers to chill, but they won't chill. They like money and hood fame. My man Hayes has on a big ass gold chain. Only problem is it isn't his. The chain belongs to his cousin, who is deep in the drug biz. Hayes wants to take a ride, but for nothing more, to take the chain on a ride like it's on tour. Now we're riding dirty in Claude's car, stunting and fronting like wannabe rock stars, with the windows down and the system turned up, bringing attention to ourselves, not giving a fuck, walking in spots, giving props and giving dap to grimy ass cats who sell crack where they rest at. Unwise. Being a follower will get you killed. Following against your will, going against your gut, following these nuts will get your ass stuck up. Yeah, being a follower will get you killed. Following against your will, listen to the voice inside, take it in stride, and you just might stay alive. I'm on the block paying attention to facial expressions, and each one says that they're gonna get them. The gold chain is looking like shark's bait. The shark's on the corner, and man, they can't wait to catch a brother, slip him and trip him so they can flip him and dip him. Put him on the ground and have that ass stripping.
We split them up and got into the groups with the ones that attempted first. And just all of it was the whole same stories. It was bullying, not liking the way that they look, not having anyone to talk to, and you know, most of these kids, you can tell they had like, you know, piercings all over their face, and then just yeah, it was just sad, man. I had to go outside and get a second breather, because then I thought about my son, and like sometimes I see him like.
How old is your son?
I say he'll be 21 in November.
Yeah. Okay.
And that runs in my family. You know, my aunt hung herself. My great grandfather killed himself.
Goodness gracious.
Another cousin killed herself.
Okay.
So that, and then on my mom's side, they have, you know, so it's a double whammy kind of.
Okay.
And I found that out about people that I just met through Heritage.com about 5 years ago. I had wrote a little letter on there looking for Saunders family, and the lady replies and says, "Hey, I think I'm your aunt, because my dad died, her brother, and then my dad's dad died."
Okay.
So we ended up meeting up about 6 years ago, and she comes down every summer, and we go to my dad's grave up in Oroville, and you know, we share stories. So she tells me a little more and more about that side of the family that I never knew.
You know, that's always really heavy, man. And I had suicidal thoughts in 2007. You know what I mean? And I was, you know, I was on the downslope of a marriage. And I was really going through some drama creatively. I was creatively lost. I was just like, you know, I felt like God wasn't talking to me. I felt like, you know what I mean, I wanted to get to know this energy, this person, God, and God wouldn't talk to me. So I would go home every night and I would drink, which I'm not a drinker at all. And I pictured me blowing my brains out. Every day I would see myself sitting on the edge of my bed with a 9mm to my chin, and I just blew my freaking brains out. I didn't think I was suicidal, but I was like, why am I having this vision?
Right.
I got counseling, I got help, and my first thing my counselor said after I told her that story, she was just like, why do you think you had that vision? And I said, I think it's me just wanting the pain to go away. I just want to stop hurting. You know what I mean? And I think that's why when families are going through suicide stuff, you know what I mean, it's always feels even more heavier, because we all know that that person, whoever pulled the trigger, no metaphor intended, on taking their own life, we all imagine where were they at emotionally, spiritually, to make a person do that. You follow what I'm saying? You know, so I'm condolences for whatever you have been going through. Because I know.
I was telling him about I was speaking up at a place, and it was a bunch of kids, and then we had asked the kids to raise their hands, whoever thought of suicide or attempted, and the majority of the kids had raised their hand, and we split them. We split them up.
Now I read that stat that suicide suicide is on the rise.
We had split them up. We had split them up from after we found that out. We split them up from the ones that attempted, and then the ones that have thought. And then because we were trying to get to the reason why the ones who thought, trying to help them in the process, trying to get these other ones help. These parents never even knew anything about what was going on. That's why we had to get the parents out of the room.
Wow.
I'd like to come back one day and us three, the mental health be the topic.
Well, we're going. There are many topics, but you know the goal of this one, our inaugural one, the first time Malik Saunders, Sean King, Graffiti Bleu sat down, I really just wanted to give John Q, the watcher, the viewer, just a sample of what it is. And with that, we'll wrap up with our last statement, last question. What you're watching is What Needs to Happen, where basically three black men get together and talk about a random topics, random problems in society, and our takes on what needs to happen on how to fix it. I am your moderator, maybe not that good of a one today because the conversation just went where it wanted to go. Or maybe that is a good moderator, just letting his shit fly. You warned me! But that being said, let me go into my bag. It is my personal belief that the job of the youth is to challenge the wisdom of its elders. Yet, there seems to be a great division between old school and the new school. I also have observed that there is a great divide between women and men. We are fast approaching the calendar year of 2020, yet for the most part, all the cultural races primarily stick to their own. Is this evidence that a divide and conquer strategy perpetuated by the Illuminati is actually working?
Yeah, the Illuminati is scared that it's going to turn into Planet of the Apes.
Okay, we'll go there. And if so, if their job is to divide and conquer because the only way for a minority to control a majority is through division and fear, if so, then what needs to happen to get rid of some of that fear and come together? I'm not expecting men and women after watching this video to hold hands and sing kumbaya, but what do we need? What needs to happen individually for us to at least hit the pause button on the bull?
Dialogue.
Ooh. Elaborate.
It needs to just start off with the dialogue, getting groups of people together, just speaking, letting each other be heard. I think that's the main issue. Nobody's listening, everybody's talking.
You can't talk and listen at the same time.
Nobody's listening. Because if you hear, a lot of people have the same gripes, but just they're explaining a different way. If you sit down and listen, like everybody has like kind of the same.
Everybody's driving home the same point. Right. But nobody's listening.
Nobody's listening.
Right.
And I agree with that because it's when you listen, like at the Black Women's March yesterday. One of the things is women don't feel like the men hear them or respect them, right? And when you look at young and old, the youth and the older generations, it's a question of, as the older generations, we're asking for. We want you to pay deference, because we've lived longer, because maybe we think we've been through some more. When you sit down and talk to some of the youth, you realize that they've had a lifetime already packaged into 15, 16, 17 years.
Right.
But we come at it from a standpoint of, you should be paying us deference because we paved the way.
Yeah.
And so we're not listening.
No.
No. And they want to be heard, so they're not listening. And I think a lot of that goes on, and with the races and things like that, it's kind of the same dynamic where, we got it worse than you, or I got it worse than you, and so you get into this thing where, you playing that game of who has it worse than the other person, and so you fighting with other people that have it bad, instead of understanding that we all got it bad.
Without question.
And so how do we basically build those bridges so that we can really tackle the real stuff? But I think it's, of course it's by design, because if you like you said, when you get to the point of, minorities, how do you control the resources, the money, the people?
Right.
You can't let people start to realize the similarities or realize, the things or whatever that they share in common. It's in their best benefit to not let these dialogues happen where men and women start to come on one accord. Or, when you get into the racial dynamics, as you look at, say Black and Latin American, right? And it's really, the cultures overlap so much.
Yes, they do.
In the stories of South America, North America, it's all the same story. In the United States, everywhere. But we can't, we look at somebody that's Puerto Rican and we say, well, that person's not Black. But by definition, Puerto Rican is African blood.
Really.
But it's the same with the Republic, it's the same with Colombia, it's the same with Brazil, all these places or whatever that we look at, and we look at them and say they're different from us, and we don't, instead of building that bridge or finding the commonality. So the dialogue, definitely, and in that dialogue, being willing to put your ego to the side,
edging,
being
edging God out.
Yeah.
Hashtag Jacqueline Smithson out.
But but being able to put that to the side and listen and try to be receptive to what somebody's telling you instead of defensive, because a lot of times when you have a dialogue with somebody that's close to you and they're telling you, like, if you, like in the situation you were talking about earlier, if you have a young kid that's suicidal and they're talking to an elder, right? And they're talking to somebody close to them about that. Talking to their parent. Their parent's defensive because they're like, wait a minute, I'm a good parent. Saying you can't be having these thoughts. So instead of
they take it
embracing
personal.
And that's moving the ego to the side. Wrapping things up, I just want to point out, I like pointing out common threads, right? So when we say what needs to happen about bridging the gap to people, and are there powers that want to keep us divided, I want to say an emphatic yes, because for the first question, is debt the new slavery? If men, women, young and old got together, they'd start working more effectively and efficiently. So men and women working together, old and young working together, there's probably not going to be as much debt, because you're going to have more harmony in the home, right? So it is in their best interest to divide, because to keep people divided, the debt goes up. If mama and wife, if wife and husband ain't getting along, probably in debt. You know what I mean? And if the kids ain't getting along with their parents, there's probably some debt going on, because everybody's trying to use money to fix a problem.
And when you look at pure American culture, right? So you see people that come in from other countries, other places, and they'll live in a house until they're financially ready.
The other cultures do that so well. You know what I mean? They'll do that so well.
Well, that's because they're bringing that culture from somewhere else. Here, when you're 17, 18 years old, man, you like, I can't, hold on a second.
Sorry to interrupt. We are actually officially closed.
Okay. Oh, we gotta go. I know that. So okay, let me pack up.
Okay, yeah, you're totally fine.
All right, 5 minutes. Okay.
So, but I was just gonna say that, at 17, 18, people that are growing up in an American culture, they can't wait to get out the house. And live the broke life.
And live the freaking broke life. And nothing matters but the freedom.
Or let alone, like, it's hard for us, meaning, Americans, when we have, we're in a rush too, you know, the parents in a rush to get the kids out and people out of the house because, you know, the husband and wife want to be together. But I've noticed in my neighborhood up the street, when I moved there about 14 years ago, there was I would see a whole bunch of people like in a house. I think they're actually from India.
Yeah.
And they had like 4 houses, right? And there would be like 5 to 10 people in a 2-3 bedroom house.
Yeah.
So as time went on, I noticed that, you know, there's not a lot of people there. So then what they do is those people that were there after they're finished going to school, they go and buy a house, they bring more people in, they all stay. Now they own half of that block. The house my daughters ran in, they own that whole little circle now. You know,
Right.
and they're passing it off to each other, and it's the thing too with dialogue. It's so important, like in a marriage too. Like I'm not good at this. I can honestly say it because my wife will pull my card that she's always saying, "You're not listening to me. You don't understand." You know, and that echoes in my head now with this conversation.
Okay.
You know, the dialogue. We need dialogue. We need to be able to let each other speak and get off what's on our chest.
Indeed.
And listen to the other person's reply. Not just wait for them to finish so that you can jump in and hammer them. You listen to them. You
Right.
pull back for a second and breathe and listen to them.
And I guess the only real quick point that I would say on that is not going for the win.
That's the
Not going for the win, because in that dialogue, you know, a lot of times, you know, somebody triggers something, your feelings get hurt about something. Somebody is saying, you know, you might be in a conversation and a woman will say, you know, toxic masculinity, and that'll trigger you. Instead of really trying to understand what it is that's being said, you start defending yourself and you start going for the win.
And everything else is out the door.
Everything else is out the door because now we're competing. We're going for the win. Nobody's
talking over and
Yeah,
over.
and in reality, and when we're having these discussions and when we open the dialogue, we really should be going for the understanding and not the win. And you really have to put your ego to the side to even be in a receptive mode to do that. It is our time. Sean King, thank you. Malik Saunders, thank you. I believe this is the start of many great conversations. Please come back and join me.
Looking forward to
You know what I
it.
mean? And let's have this dialogue not only on camera but off camera.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean? And that's just what we're gonna do. It's a wrap!
A lot of cats ask me if this story is true. It is.
Once upon a time in the days of low fades, I was on the block with Claude and my man.